Psalm 91, God's shield of protection, chapter 15, Tid 2. Good grief. God is my deliverer. Because he has loved me, therefore I will deliver him. Psalm 91:14. A promise of deliverance is the first of 7 promises made to the one who loves God. Make it personal. For instance, I quote it like this: Because I love you, Lord, I thank you for your promise to deliver me. When I was young, I personally needed deliverance. I almost destroyed my marriage, my family, and my reputation because I was tormented with fear. One incident opened the door. I can remember the very instant my happy life changed into a nightmare that lasted 8 years, and one verse walked me out of this living mental hell. She is talking about her something that happened to her, and her book is called Tormented 8 Years and Back. So that's another book she has. Just FYI. This is the verse she was talking about. Whoever calls on the name of the Lord will be delivered. Joel chapter 2 verse 32. That's Joel 2:32. Many of you desperately need God's promise of deliverance. The word worked for me and it will work for you. There are also other types of deliverances. There is the internal and the external. Ask yourself, from what is he going to deliver me? Remember the external deliverances discussed in the previous chapters. God will deliver us from all the following: the lion problems, Lion, the young lion problems, Lion again, the cobra problems, the dragon problems, the terror by night, evils that come through man, war and terror or violence, the arrows that fly by day, which is enemy assignment sent to wound, the pestilence, which is plagues, deadly diseases, fatal epidemics, and the destruction, evils over which man has no control. In other words, God wants to deliver us from every evil known to mankind. That protection does not stop just because we might be on a foreign soil, alone on a dangerous mission, or in the midst of a fierce battle. In his book, A Table in the Presence, Lieutenant Kerry Cash tells firsthand of our military's entry into Baghdad and gives us eyewitness report of the miraculous delivering power of our God. On April 10th, 2003, the 1st Battalion, 5th Marine Regiment, marched into downtown Baghdad to seize Saddam Hussein's presidential palace, only to find themselves ambushed by militant hiding in mosques, storefronts, and homes. Hundreds of troops were caught face to face with blitz of rocket-propelled grenades, which is RPGs, gunfire, and sure defeat. Yet their reports tell a different story. A rocket slicing its way through an armored vehicle packed with Marines hits no one. A Marine finds a bullet entrance and exit holes in his helmet, yet he has no injury. A squad of Marines watched in amazement as their enemies prepare to fight from point blank range, then pause and drop their weapons, running away in terror. An RPG fired from only a few yards away inexplicably swerves and misses its intended target. When the smoke of the battle cleared, only one American had lost his life. The Marine could not deny, the Marines could not deny God's protection, not only on this day, but in the months that led up to this moment as well. From a spiritual revival in the desert of northern Kuwait, to miraculous escapes from death, to baptizing a Marine in Saddam Hussein's palace, Lieutenant Cash, a chaplain with the United States Navy and battalion chaplain to infantry Marines, the first ground combat force to cross the border into Iraq, recounts the remarkable events, one after another, of God's faithfulness. Each war has its testimony of deliverance. Another fascinating story comes from an earlier war in our history. Captain Edward Eddie W. Rickenbacker, foremost American airman in World War I, was thankful he knew to call on the name of the Lord for deliverance. He related this remarkable story after his return from a near-death experience in which he was stranded in the South Pacific for 24 days on an ill-fated goodwill tour during World War II. Captain Rickenbacker, flying ace from the World War I, left Hawaii by airplane with 7 others for a certain island. But when their arrival time had elapsed, there was no land in sight. Their compass had failed them, and their radio was not working properly. They were lost, and to make matters worse, their gas tank was empty, causing a crash landing into the water. The first miracle was the fact that this was probably the only time in history that a four motor plane, designed to land only in the ground, had landed in the ocean without serious casualties. Water was pouring into the broken windows with such force that, in their eagerness to get away from the airplane before it sank, they were unable to retrieve their drinking water and rations. Oh my lord. All they had between them were four scrawny oranges. For 8 days, those 8 men should have consumed a total of 192 meals. 192 meals. Yet they subsisted on those four oranges and no water. Wow. There were 3 rubber boats, 2 of which were designed to hold 5 men. But Rickenbacker's crew was sure that whoever had designed those rafts must have constructed them with midgets in mind. None of the men wanted to think about the fact that they had landed in an expanse of water covering over 68 million square miles and an enveloping enveloping more than a third of the globe. Oh my gosh. It accounts for half the world's water surface and is 11 million square miles greater than the total land surface of nearly 58 million square miles. Oh my gosh. How on earth could 3 tiny rubber rafts be seen in that great expanse? There was no comfortable position. A standard position would be one man's leg over another man's shoulder, and the other man's leg under the other man's arm. 12-foot high waves turned one of the rafts over, and no sooner had the occupants got it upright and pulled themselves back inside than they all noticed the water was oh my gosh, suddenly churning alive with sharks. I don't know why I just got scared, but it just came to my mind. Good grief. Whoo, Lord. They could see their dark bodies. God help us. Woo, help me, Jesus. They could see their dark bodies circling their rafts throughout the whole ordeal. Oh my gosh. Wow. During the day, the sun would burn them. I'm not laughing at them, I'm laughing at my expression. My goodness. During the day, the sun would burn them beyond belief. Oh, that's a shame. They would almost freeze during the cold nights. The lifeboats were tied together with 3 men in the first one, 3 in the second, including Captain Rickenbacker, and 2 in the third. Private Bartek in Captain Rickenbacker's boat had a Bible in the pocket of his jumper, and the second day out, prayer meetings were organized in the evening and morning, and the men took turns reading passages from the Bible. They laid bare their inmost secrets and sins to God, none of which will ever be revealed. There were some cynics and unbelievers among them. Not after the 8th day, however, for on that day a small miracle occurred. Something landed on Rickenbacker's head. Rickenbacker said, "Frankly and humbly we pray for deliverance. And if it weren't for the fact that I had 7 witnesses, I wouldn't dare tell this story because it seems so fantastic." Within an hour after the prayer meeting on the 8th day, a seagull came out of nowhere and landed on my head. I reached up my hand gently and got him. We wrung his we wrung his neck, feathered him up, carved up his carcass, and divided it among the group and ate every bite, even the little bones. Oh my gosh. Rickenbacker said, all because of one little gull hundreds of miles from land, and there was not one of us who was not aware that gull had appeared just after we finished our prayer service, which we held twice a day. After our feast, we then used his innards for bait, which this bait we succeeded in catching 2 fish. The night we ran into our first rainstorm, usually you try to avoid a black squall, but in this case we made it our business to get into it and catch for drinking water. Later we were able to catch more water and build up a supply. Rickenbacker said, added to my physical effort were my prayers. Rickenbacker said, added to my physical effort were my prayers. I asked God to help us paddle to reach the storm so we could catch fresh water. It was nothing short of a miracle that they were able to maneuver those boats that far by nightfall. They busied themselves catching water with their shirts, socks, handkerchiefs, wringing them out. Even when one of the boats capsized, they learned that determined when men who won't give up can do anything in the midst of all the turbulence. The other rafts were able to rescue the sunken one and help the men back into safety. Wow, this is awesome. Rickenbacker, who started the journey with a message to deliver General MacArthur, said that it was clear that God had a purpose in keeping him alive. He knew he had been saved to serve. He'd faced death and had learned from those encounters the meaning of life, the meaning of God, and the meaning of the Golden Rule. During the last days, their supply of water increased, and on the 24th day, American planes found and rescued Captain Rickenbacker and his men. Finally, after what seemed like a lifetime, Rickenbacker was able to transport the oral message he had been commissioned to deliver to General MacArthur, a message that will forever remain a secret. Rickenbacker said, "Though I remember every word of it to this day, I shall not repeat it. Stimson and MacArthur took it with them to the grave, and so shall I." The survival of the airmen was important to the war effort in other ways. Because of the experiences of those 8 men, survival equipment was redesigned. Life drafts were made longer and wider, carried sails, and such emergency supplies as concentrated food, vitamins, first aid kits, fishing tackle, and bait. They were also fitted with radios and small chemical distiller capable of converting seawater into drinking water. But beyond helping the war effort, the experiences of the rescued airmen had far reaching spiritual results. They made powerful witnessing Christians of the airmen who experienced the miraculous answers to their prayers through them made a strong impression upon the American public. Equally outspoken about his experience on the raft in the Pacific Ocean was Johnny Bartek. Then we prayed and God answered. It was real. We needed water. We prayed for water and we got water, all we needed. Then we asked for fish and we got fish and we got some meat when we prayed. Seagulls don't go around sitting on people's heads waiting to be caught. Then I prayed again to God and said, if you'll send that one plane back for us, I promise I'll believe in you and tell everyone else. That plane came back and the others flew. I'm sorry. That plane came back and the others flew on. It just happened. It did not. God sent that plane back. Though the whole free world was thrilled by the rescue by Captain Rickenbacker's words, we prayed and we were spared to come back and tell America to pray. Wow, that's powerful. Deliverance is all encompassing. It happens internally and externally. In fact, it surrounds us. You are my hiding place. You preserved me from trouble. You surround me with the songs of deliverance. Selah. Psalm 32, verse 7. Whoa, man, this was a powerful chapter.